So good evening, everyone. It's kind of different to speak English when everybody speaks Portuguese here, and I love our language, but this is the protocol, so we're gonna be speaking English tonight. I am so glad you're all here. I really love this place, our spiritual center. It has been a home to me and my family. I've known many people here for quite a while, so it's always great seeing the faces that we know and new faces coming too. So I feel grateful tonight, and I thank you all for being here. So tonight I'm going to talk about, I chose this title, Who Will Keep Our Tears, because I'm going to be talking a little bit about the transition that we're going through as a planet. There's a planetary transition happening. In Spiritism, we learn more and more about that. And because of that, we're going through times of great difficulty. These are times of trials and challenges. And we see tears, we see tears individually, in groups, in families, in societies, in nations, in the planet. So we all know that in this day and time, there are wars happening still. There's so much going on. So I'm going to be talking about that for a while, and then I'll move on. Of course, I'm not going to stay in the problem. We're going to look for solutions too. But I'm going to start with that. So the title of my talk today is that one, Who Will Keep Our Tears? And I based my talk today in four books. Two books by Divaldo de Franco, by Joana de Angelis. She's the spirit, and Divaldo de Franco wrote the books. So it's through the mediumship of Divaldo de Franco. And the spirit is Joana de Angelis. The other two books are The Gospel According to Spiritism by Kardec and The Spirit's Book by Kardec as well. So the titles of the books that I'm going to be basing my talks, the Divaldo Franco's books are After the Storm and Earth Regenerated. So let's begin then. So I'm going to start here with a quote, a fragment. Oh, and then there's a third book too, The Integral Man by Divaldo de Franco as well, through the spirit, with the spirit Joana de Angelis. So I'm going to start quoting a fragment that I think it reflects well about what I was talking about a little while ago. These times that we're going through, times of change and transition. Modern man gasps for breath while traveling in super comfortable ships beyond the atmosphere and within it, overcoming distances, interpreting, I don't see that, interpreting the challenges and cosmic enigmas. There is possibility for terrible diseases that once destroyed generation. I need to move this thing. Sorry. Take it. Oh. Maybe we can. Yeah. Thank you. There is possibility for terrible diseases that once destroyed generations, even as new and completely disturbing illnesses emerge. Perplexity dominates human landscapes. So we see, I'm going to stop while I read. So we see here the way she begins, modern man gasps for breath while traveling in super comfortable ships. So we see that we go out into space, but we still have difficulty to go within and sometimes to breathe. Our times are so demanding and so chaotic that sometimes we don't even have a good awareness of our own breathing. So yes, we have all the technology and the improvements in that way are just happening in science. We see improvements in science, but we still have difficulty to go within and connect with our breath. So we see that disparity. Those days are like that. Stark economic misery and aggressive social abandonment turned today's cities in states for crime, where people were driven to it, losing their material possessions and lives in unimaginable circumstances. There is a suffocating psychosphere of fear, indifference toward order, ethical values, and physical existence. The individual becomes dehumanized, surrendering to fear or generating it or being indifferent to it. Behavioral disorders increase and misgovernance governs. So when we think about our psychosphere, let's start with pollution, right? When we think about the air that we breathe and the nature that we have, and we think about pollution, there is all that happening. The ecosystem is suffering. And then there is the psychosphere, which is, when we emanate thoughts that are not benevolent, when our vibration, the vibration that we send out is not benevolent, the psychosphere becomes heavy. So there's not only it's not only pollution with the elements, the nature. It's not only that. It's pollution because of our thoughts too, the vibration that we emanate sometimes, and the energy. Us, all of us. Some of us more, some of us less. But there's that, right? And we see the behavior disorders, just growing and growing. The suicidal rate, it's just the suicide is something that it's really so high at the moment. All of that is true. And we're here, we're going through that. So this is Earth changing, right? Because right now we are a planet of trials and expiations. And with time, we'll see Earth as a regenerated place. But for now, we're dealing with that. And it's so interesting to read Joanna de Angelis because she brings about a psychological perspective to Spiritism. She goes deep into the issues that have to do with the feelings, with thought, with behaviors, and she will present some tools that we can use to deal with that. So, science in constant progress, if not accompanied by a corresponding ethical spiritual development, will be prone to lead men to nihilism, to the concept of annihilation. So nihilism is a philosophical point of view that suggests that life has no value, that life has no meaning, that is useless. So nihilism is linked to skepticism and criticism. So, and here we're talking about science. So if science does not progress hand in hand with ethical spiritual development too, there is that risk that we go towards the idea that life has no meaning, or life has no value, or that the skepticism becomes something so strong and so intense, and criticism also is just a way that we don't want to go, right? And to the concept of annihilation. In another sense, the underlying coexistence presents an exasperating list of conflicting areas in wars and threats of war that follow, in the fluctuation of economy, in the large pockets of misery, leading men to anxiety, insecurity, continued suspicion, and violence. It is one thing that we see, even in children, young folks nowadays, and the young people, when we talk about skepticism and criticism and seeing life as something that has no meaning, I work with teenagers. This is one thing that I see a lot. It's like, what's the point? What's the point of all of that? So it's something that we see happening. Anxiety, insecurity about, politics, government, about tomorrow, about what we feel, about what others feel, and continued suspicion. There's that too. And I made a point of writing their names in a stronger mode here, Divaldo de Franco and Joana de Angelis, because these are not my words. These are their words. Because I feel those things, but then I tell myself, oh, perhaps it's not that bad. Perhaps it's not, but it is complicated right now. And it's better to be aware and really observe how things are progressing than pretend that these things are not happening, because they are. When young folks wanna commit suicide, for example, it's something that is happening. Well, there is no point in life. Life is useless and meaningless. So why am I gonna live? So we see suicide happening. And we need to talk about it, because it's only talking about it that we're going to find tools to work through it, tools to change it. So it is necessary. Man repeats the actions of yesterday with the same intensity today, works in the same job, and retraces the same steps, maintains the same uninteresting conversations, or seek the same distractions, bar, club, television, news, sex, with a frantic fear of solitude until reaching retirement. In the meantime, he takes planned trips, visits places that displease him, but pretends to enjoy. These are their words. This is a quote from the book. So, yeah, we see it's so easy to connect nowadays. We just click a little, poof, we click something on our phones and we see somebody on the other side of the world. But people are lonely. We feel loneliness because the connection, the encounter, it's not really happening. So that's that. And this is one thing that caught my attention since the first time I read the book. The Integral Man, it's a book that I got here in our library. We have the whole collection by Joana de Angelis. It's so great. And the Integral Man is just one of the books. So from the first time I read, this one caught my attention. Friendships present themselves confused and disoriented. Loyalty, respect for others are lacking, giving space to slander and malice in the programming of misfortune. Distrust marks affection, and there is no personal surrender. Distrust marks affections, and there is no personal surrender. Always in fear of betrayal, replacing the spirit of solidarity that should give strength to the true expression of love. This is one thing that, I have been working in the mental health field now for almost 30 years. And of course, I analyze myself as well. And this is one thing that I hear a lot. I don't trust, and when she talks about personal surrender. So distrust, we try to connect, we try to bond, we try to create friendships, but at the same time, we're not completely there. And then I thought about something. Sometimes we don't even trust ourselves, right? Of course, I'm not talking about all of us, but this is one thing that happens. It happens to me. Sometimes I do not trust myself. I was like, am I going to be able to do this talk today? Like sometimes don't, but this is the thing. And this is why I love Spiritism. because it's faith, that it's rational faith. Yeah, I do not trust myself, but do I trust God? Do I really believe God? Do I believe God? I do. So I have faith in God. I have faith that God is going to help me to trust myself. And then I move on. So I don't trust my loved one. But do I trust God? Do I really trust God? Do I really believe in God? Yes, I do. So God is going to help me trust the other. So there is mistrust. It's hard for us to trust. But if we decide, because I also think that believing in God and having faith is a choice. If we choose to believe in God and have faith, we can choose at each moment to believe the other, to have faith in the other. We can choose at each moment to have faith in ourselves. And if we don't, anyways, we have faith in God, and we ask God to help us. And He will. He will. Pessimism is cultivated, and any uplifting accomplishment, sorry, and any uplifting accomplishment is controlled with suspicion and disenchantment. This is one thing I see with teenagers so much. Sometimes, my daughters tell me, slow your roll. Sometimes when I get too happy, they're like, there is a new term, is nonchalant. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Yeah? Thank you, Leo. Nonchalant. Is that one individual who is not really feeling anything, not feeling anything, just, but no, because, look, any uplifting accomplishment or any uplifting joy or whatever is controlled with suspicion and disenchantment. These times and also I feel that a kind of numbness. It's kind of being numb. We're never too sad, but we're never too happy. I had chances to hear in clinics that I used to work with patients, when we talk about self-harm injury or self-harm behavior, which is something that it's so sad and it's so difficult to deal with. And I remember some phrases that I heard. I'm a psychotherapist. Young people, they would tell me, well, I don't feel anything anyways. I want to feel something, so I hurt myself. So it's the numbness, what's the meaning, what's the point? Any uplifting accomplishment or joy, or it's controlled with suspicion and disenchantment. There is a lack of hope in the young folks I see sometimes. And this is one thing that worries me. Worries me in a sense that I want to find ways, we need to find ways to make them feel and to make them feel hope. Yes, if they feel angry, let them feel anger. If they feel sad, let them feel sadness. But then they will feel, and along with anger and sadness, they will also feel love and joy and excitement. So foolishness governs groups once respected. And at the same time, anguish takes hold of many idealists who give up the noble fight frightened. The human being has lost the ethical address of dignity and does not seem to feel embarrassed when deviating from the path of political correctness, even when it is far from the standard. It is unnecessary to state that chaos has taken over humanity. So it's from that same book, The Integral Man by Divaldo de Franco. And then this is another book that I was also reading as I was preparing. Serious moral, economical, and social upheavals keep showing up everywhere. There is a storm brewing in the ocean of humanity. The earth is like a huge boat overcome by the elements. The passengers are exasperated. They cry, scream, go into a rage, and they pray. So, yes, so this is just a little bit of the theoretical resources that I found to, to illustrate this idea of, yes, we're going through times that are extremely challenging. There is a big changing going on in our planet, in our systems, in our families, within ourselves, but we are here and we must keep going, right? So, and then, the other day I was looking at a drawing that my daughter made, and I was thinking, how do she's 10. She's 10. This daughter of mine who drew this, she's 10 years old, and I was thinking, I wonder how children feel that, how they perceive all of these challenges and all of this suffering that is going on. And then I was looking at her drawing. Her name is Belle. It's about God. And she said, the wind is God breathing, and the rain is when God's crying. So, how children are and how their thought process is not as developed as ours, how they cannot pinpoint things and express how they feel, but they do feel it, that there's chaos. So she sees God as nature in a way. And, she's saying when the rain is when God's crying. So we understand in Spiritism, and this is one thing that I hear a lot from young people. They often see God as nature. Sometimes I ask them, do you believe in God? Or, when I'm working or something, and they will tell me, no, but I like nature. I think God is nature. And it's a great way to connect. It doesn't really matter how people think of God or they talk about God. What matters is to find a way in. In Spiritism, we understand that God is the cause of all things. God is not the effect, right? We know that nature is an effect of God's creation. So God is the cause, nature is the effect. And we cannot mistake one for the other. We know that. But if people come to us and they see God in nature, they think that God is nature, let's start talking to them. Let's see how it goes. So, and then I asked my daughter, so you think the rain is when God is crying? So why do you think God's crying? And she answers me, well, God's crying because there's too much selfishness. People are selfish. I say, And then I think about the gospel. We were just studying about that the other day here. We have study groups. And this is what we read in the gospel, that selfishness, it's the plague, right? So then she tells me, yeah, it's too much selfishness. It's just odd. And then I asked the other one, because I have twins and I have a teenager. I had the other twin and I asked the other one, so why do you think that God is crying? And she says, well, because not a lot of people believe in God. That's why he's crying. So, and then I go here to the Spiritist book to go to the concept about, trying to find a definition. And it's so difficult for us to grasp that concept, right? So in book 1, chapter 1, first question in the Spirit's book, we'll see what is God. So God is the supreme intelligence, the first cause of all things. So when my daughter was thinking about God, as nature, like rain, when it's raining, is God's crying. She's making a mistake, she's confusing cause and effect. So we understand that God is the cause of all things. Nature it's an effect of God's work. Is an expression of God's word. God is eternal, is immaterial, is unique, unchangeable. God is all powerful, God is supremely just and good. So when we think about, these times that we're going through and about the words that we just saw a little while ago through the mediumship of Gibaldo, the thoughts of Joanna de Angelis, and we think about the chaos that we're eh, living right now, and we just, if we, I know this is a question that we may know this, if we study Spiritism, but I want to go back to this first question, especially the last sentence. God is supremely just and good. So yes, there is chaos, there is suffering, we're disoriented, there is anxiety, and there is fear. But if we do believe in God, and we know that He's all justice and benevolence, there must be a reason why all of this is happening. And there is. This is, I was reading the other book. I don't recall the name of this book. And when they talk about these times when we're going through trials, they call these times purification times. I think it's Joanna de Angelis too. So yes, it is. It's all difficult, but it's a purification moment. Things have to just happen. Chaos is happening right now, but it's just then that we see, hey, this is not okay. It's not okay that people want to take their lives away. It's not okay that we're not being able to connect. It's not okay that government is like this. No, and then that may cause us to desire something, desire to speak up. It may make us want to do something, speak up, or meet with other people, or turn off the phone, or say, yes, I love you and I miss you, or, touch somebody, or I don't know, something that may remind us that life has a point, life has meaning, life has value, and we have meaning. We have value because we're creatures. We're created by God. We're here. We have this life. So when Joanna de Angelis talk about dehumanizing, this is it's critical because we must be aware. We must be paying attention, remembering that we're humans, that we feel, that all the phones and computers and things and that they're all good, but what's really good is this, what we're doing now. I'm looking at you all, you're looking at me, we're talking about things here, we're together. This is good. So we're human. We need to keep bringing that back. It's kind of tricky and it's dangerous, We cannot let that go unnoticed. And we need to show that to the children, to the young folks. Sometimes there is I was speaking with a little guy the other day in my work, and I noticed that there was a little bit of a confusion between reality and what's not real, like virtual and real. And then that, we play a game now. It's like real image, truth, image. And we're going on with that game because the little minds are becoming confused. This is real. This is image. And some images, they bring truth. Some images don't. So this is one thing that I think we need to pay attention to because these children, when I think about children, I'm a mother of 3, but I want to think about, I want to think about children like they are our children. Because again, if we do believe in God, we believe that we're brothers and sisters. So we believe that your children is my children in a way, and vice versa. So if I can talk to my neighbor's child, if I can, if it's okay, why not? If I have that perception that the little minds are kind of confused, and if I have the willingness and the understanding, why not? Why not talk to them? Because these are the people who are going to be here to enjoy the earth when it's changed. We may not be here. We may not be here. I was talking to Marcelo, our friend, the other day, and I told him, yes, Marcelo, I don't think we're going to be here. And he said, but we can go, we can come back quickly. We can reincarnate. We can come back. Yes, we may not be here, but these children will. So we need to feed them with the goodness. And this is my other daughter. She also drew about God, God, Vanda. When it's raining, God is having a sad time. But when it's sunny, he's feeling great. So again, she's comparing God to nature. And I brought this drawing because she talked about the sun. And as I was studying the Spirit's book, the other day, I found something so interesting, and I keep talking about that over and over again. So we're going to find it in book 2, chapter 4, question 188. It's a little bit after the question it's a commentary. So when they're talking about the incarnation in other planets, they talk about the sun. And this is what we find in the Spirit's book. The sun is not inhabited by corporeal beings, but constitutes a meeting place for higher spirits to radiate their thoughts to the other worlds that they govern through lower spirits, to whom they transmit their action. So let's think about that. When I thought about that, I said, oh, so the sun is the conference room. The higher spirits, they meet there and they kind of plan, they plan how they're going to help us, the lower crowd. And through the cosmic fluid, they transmit that action. And we may grab it in a way or another when we have inspirations, when we're studying, when we're trying to modify our vibrational stuff here, when we're trying to connect with something higher. So in that, again, makes me think about God. Let's think about God, when we see the little drawing of children and the droplets of the rain and the ladybug, and we think about the sun, from the smallest creature, the smallest little thing, from a ladybug, from a little bit of rain, to the sun, to the oceans, to the rivers, to the stars, to the planets and galaxies, to you and me, there is God orchestrating here, everywhere, up in the sun, in the ladybug, in the flowers. So yes, we're going through chaos. Not really. It may seem like it, but not really. Because there is a supreme intelligence that is holding on to that. That gives us a sense of it's okay. No matter it comes my way, I will go through it. Because there is something so much higher that I cannot even grasp, that it's taking hold of it with so much love and care that it's fine. It is fine. But then what can I do? What can I do? So right now, for example, we're doing something, it's Tuesday. I could be watching TV with Van Den Bell. You all could be doing something else, but we're here. We're talking about these things. This is an encounter, right? So, and then this, oh, now I need to move it. How do I move the little dogs there? Thank you. Thank you. These others, oh, look at that. These others, this is from Joanna de Angelis as well. Regenerated Earth. Or no, this is from After the Storm, one of her books, through Divaldo de Franco. These others who feel the melody of the word in their heart should get together in groups of study and discussion. Then let them go out and spread the seeds in the soil of human hearts, so much in need, like you and me. These fervent workers, whose ideal is to serve, should examine their neighbor's suffering, offering resources to help him liberate himself. So we're talking about the sun, how the sun is the conference room for the higher spirits to plan and send us what we need here in the lower realms. And then these others who feel the melody, do we feel the melody that comes from beyond, from the higher spirits, the benevolent spirits, from God, from Christ? Do we hear the melody? If yes, let's get together. Let's talk about it. Let's study. Let's spread it. Let's spread it out. Because these are going to be the seeds that go into the human hearts. So much in need, like you and me. And these fervent workers. And then if we want, we can become workers. We need that right now. And then we go on. We go on. The chaos is happening. God is holding, it's holding us. And if we want, we can help him. We can work. But work is one of the God's laws. In the Spirit's book, we talk about God's laws or the natural laws. And work is one of the natural laws. And work, it's really a blessing. So yeah, if I feel that melody, if you feel that melody, why not go on and work? Doing something, playing with the child, talking to the neighbor, smiling, looking in the eye, anything, right? Okay. And then going on, continuing with the ideas of Joanna de Angelis, as she says that, yes, we're going, so she does present, the picture of the times that we're going through, but she doesn't stop there. And this is what I like. So she's going to present tools, very specific ways that we can learn and use to go about these times and to prevent more suffering for us and for others as well. So she will present some steps. I think this is very interesting. Consider all individuals as worthy of being loved. The act of seeing others well becomes a preventive therapeutic habit in relation to the aggression of the environment and companions, constituting encouragement for the liberating struggle. So when I was telling that Joanna de Angelis, the spirit of Joanna de Angelis, brings about a psychological take that it's really extremely helpful to go through these times. It is, she says, having eyes that are kind, having kind eyes, looking at the others with kind eyes. This is a therapeutic habit. And then we can do that to ourselves as well. Because sometimes we don't have kind eyes when we look at ourselves. So we can do that to others. We can do that to us. And remember that all of us are worthy of being loved. All of us. Because if we do believe in God, we are here to be loved. And if that is not something that sits with us easily, which is something that I also hear in my office often, it's a difficulty when it comes to self-love. So if that is something that doesn't sit well, so again, we can turn to God and ask for asking him to guide us in that task, asking him to teach us to love ourselves. And he will. He will. Because when we're driving the freeway and you look to the side and you see the blue bonnets popping, or you stop to hear the birds singing, or when you're in the middle of the AGB hour and you're paying, and the lady in that place, she smiles and she tells you, I really like your glasses. So great. Or when you see someone that really hugs you with much love, it's God showing us that yes, we're loved. We are. But we must want to see. We must want to hear. But if we do, there will be always a reminder that we are loved. Just like the flowers that pop up every year. Just like the rain that brings refreshment. We are loved. So, and when we practice that, slowly but surely, we can learn to have kind eyes towards others as well. And we can remember what Joanna de Angelis teaches us. Let's consider all individuals as worthy of being loved. Let's look at them with good eyes. And then the second step here that she proposes, identify and stimulate traits of kindness in others. This is a good one. Identify and stimulate traits of kindness in others. Sometimes even something very small. Very small, especially with children. You know, if they do something like taking that fork out of the table and putting it in the dishwasher. Wow, that was a great act. I like that. You're so kind today. Good, you're helping me. Little things. Oh, a little message. You know, we get so many messages at WhatsApp. And Malu, my friend Malu, she's in Brazil right now. She sends those little messages like, good. This is an act of kindness, you know, the little things. So we can identify and stimulate that in others, in ourselves, because this is what she says. There is no soil, no matter how arid, that when it does not allow the flourishing of plants. In every feeling, there are fertile lands of kindness, even when covered by layers of gravel and pebbles. And this is what we're going to see a little bit, you know, as we go further here in my talk, the law of love. All of us, from first to last, we have love within us, all of us. The people who do not understand love yet, one day will. One day will. Because another law that it's God laws, another law that is a natural law, is the law of progress. So we have the law of work, the law of love, and the law of progress. So we're destined to grow and to progress. So if we take that perspective, that idea as one truth, we must understand that all of us have love within. It's just a matter of letting it, you know, show, or letting it be expressed, or, you know, time. Apply compassion when attacked. This one is a tricky one. That's a tricky one, but yeah. Dynamic compassion seeks to help the wrongdoer It expresses goodness and empathy without being clouded by passionate reaction. Lifting the fallen, no matter who they are or how disturbing they may be. So there is wrongdoing. We need to act in a way that is compassionate. That does not mean that we're going to let people step all over us. It's not that. We can have our limits, our boundaries, and still be compassionate. And sometimes compassionate is just that. It's to say, no, no. Right now, you can come, you cannot cross this line. But I am here, you are there, and I see what's going on. But I am here and you're there, and I see what's going on. So, and if we do have compassion and love, and if we do not react in the same vibrational tone that the person is throwing at us, the situation can be changed. It can be changed. So apply compassion when attacked. In that way, reminding us to protect ourselves of groups, right? And then one more step here that Joanna de Angelis will present us when it comes to preventing suffering. Love must be a constant in the existence of man. There is in everything and in all beings the presence of love. Love is the most effective antidote against any evils. It acts on causes and alters manifestations, changing the structure of negative contents. Love establishes peace and radiates trust, promotes nonviolence, and establishes fraternity that unites and brings men closer to each other. It is the most powerful bond with the creative cause of life. Love unites us to God. Is the most powerful bond with the creative cause of life. When we choose to take that path, we're choosing again and again to connect with God. It's the engine that drives kindness. Love is the river where suffering drowns. Olha só, Joanna de Angelis is a poet. She has that psychological view, and she's also a poet. Love is the river where suffering drowns. So if we take that river, suffering will just go down the river, and we're going to keep going. It is the most relevant human achievement. So these are the ideas that she proposes to us as we go about, these times of suffering, of challenges. They are very specific. They are tools that we can use, and they can be very helpful. So, and speaking of poem, when I worked in a psychiatric hospital for 5 years, and I used to do groups there, facilitate therapy groups every Sunday. It was Sunday early in the morning. And in the hospital, people were struggling with all kinds of psychological disorders, very serious diagnoses. They were also struggling with emotional trouble and substance abuse. And I found this poem by Mary Oliver, and I'm just choosing a fragment of it. It doesn't begin here, but it's a good fragment of it. And I remember using this poem a lot. And I'm going to read it to you, and I'm going to connect with what I have been talking about, and we're going to explore. So tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes. over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese high up in the clean blue air are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination. It calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. Mary Oliver. So what is this? This is an encounter. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. So this is an encounter. Two people are meeting. They're meeting in a very honest way. So it's an encounter. Now, whoever you are, no matter how lonely or no matter what you're going through, we can connect. We can relate despite all the differences. We can, because we belong in the family of things. We belong here. We belong together. So I love to choose these poems because you know that mental disease, people feel extremely lonely when they're struggling with mental disease. They live a reality that detaches them from what our reality is. So they feel lonely. But here, whoever you are, no matter how lonely, we all belong here in the family of things. And this is true to us, and it's true when we connect to what we talked about up to this day. So we're talking about times of suffering and despair. And when I look at you and I tell you, tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. When I'm doing that, I am regaining my humanity. It's through the encounter with the other that we recover our being human. You know, the philosopher René Descartes, long time ago in the 1600s, he said, I think, therefore I am. And we are still being influenced by that. I think now we need to dive in another reality. I feel, therefore I am. I feel, therefore I am a human being. I feel sadness, despair, anger, but I feel love too. And because I feel love, I can connect with you. Because it is through the other that we exercise our humanity. So yes, I feel, therefore I am. I am a soul inside this body. I am an immortal spirit. So I am, because I feel. And I feel love. I feel love. Because this is what's going to make us go through the hardship right now. And now the love, when we go to the gospel according to Spiritism, chapter 11, entitled Love Your Neighbor as Yourself, we see this fragment, which is one of my favorites, and I often use in my talks. Love sums up the complete doctrine of Jesus, for it is the most sublime human sentiment. So see, you know, the thing about feeling, right? There is that, oh, we cannot feel angry. We have to be happy. We cannot feel sad. No, we will feel angry. We will feel sad. We will have those feelings. Let's feel them. what we need to do is to choose wisely what we're going to do with the feeling. If I'm feeling angry and I decide to be harsh to someone, no, that's not the way. But I do need to acknowledge when I feel anger and then choose what I want to do with that. So if I'm feeling angry and I acknowledge it, I can run. I can go around the park and run, or I can clean my house, or I can listen to music very loud and sing loudly. But I need to acknowledge what I feel. If I feel sad, yes, I feel sad. No feeling is bad. What's bad is the behavior, bad or good, are the behaviors that we choose to have when we acknowledge what we feel. We need to feel what we feel. And we choose wisely what we want, what we do with the feeling. In doing that, we will also open the door to feel this. The finest and highest emotion is love. The finest and highest. Yeah, but there are a lot of the other ones that are there. If we don't experience those, we're not going to get here. We're not going to get up into the stairs if we don't go step by step. So if we feel, whatever we feel, frustration, tiredness, sadness, despair, anger, oh yeah, we look at them, we go step by step. But knowing that the finest and highest emotion is love, we can go up the stairs, we can go to whatever comes our way, even in terms of feelings. Love. So the finest and highest emotion is love, not in the romantic way. He's talking here about love as brothers and sisters, fraternal love. It's that love that comes with the belief that God is our Father. Because if I do believe that God is my Father, I understand that you're my sister. Otherwise, I am not really believing that God is my Father. This is the love they're talking about. And this is the love that is going to help us see earth changing. And it's going to help us work for that change to happen. Love as an inner sun that at its burning center concentrates the soul's highest aspirations and its essential divinity. So when we connect with that sacred fire, with that burning center within us, we connect with the divinity. Love is a divine essence in all of you. The thing that I was saying before, from the first to the last, have a spark of its sacred fires in your hearts. All of us. The murderer, yes, that guy too. All of us. So it is so difficult to pray for one that goes in a school and shoots the children. It's unthinkable. It is. But even that one guy has that sacred fire in his heart. He's just not aware of it yet. And when we send out prayers, we may send to them as well. Because one day they will know that, because we're here progressing. Eventually, as your earth grows from a place of trial and purification, it was here that I saw purification was in the gospel. The sacred fire of love will be widespread. Love one another and make a sublime effort to do so. When you succeed, you will see earth transformed into a paradise where peace loving spirits will come to renew themselves. So this is that's the way, right? And even knowing that and looking at that and going through all of these, there will be times when we will experience anguish and suffering and chaos and despair. And then for those times, let's accept the invitation. Let's accept the invitation that it's sent to us continuously. So we see here on chapter 6 of the Gospel, entitled Christ the Counselor. Come to me, all of you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. I am gentle and humble in heart, and I will find rest for your souls. Come to me, all who suffer. I want to tell them too to have trust, for consoling angels will come to dry their tears. Like a gardener, I nurture your souls in the silence of your thoughts. My yoke is easy and my burden is light. So what is Christ? What is Jesus' yoke? What is he asking from us? To love one another. That's what he's asking. And he is the one that will keep our tears. Jesus Christ is keeping our tears as we go through turmoil and despair and anguish, as we go through transition in the planet, in our minds, in our hearts, as we go through grief and sadness and heartbroken. He is the one keeping our tears. And he uses our tears to water the soil of our hearts and souls. And then before we know it, we will see flowers where we saw tears before. And then we'll become able to continue. We'll become better able to keep moving forwards on the path created by God to you and to me. We're going to continue on that path, following the divine gardener, following his footsteps, and leaving our footprints on the ground as well. Footprints of love, of growth, of faith, of brotherhood, the divine gardener, and how we may choose to follow his footsteps, on the path that is here for us, the path that is created by God to us. And in following those footsteps, but we may not see it. Perhaps our daughters, our sons, or perhaps we'll come back here reincarnated, but we then see our earth being transformed, from a place of trials and hardship to a place of peace and brotherhood and serenity and renewed life and hope and love, right? So earth regenerated. And yes, let's take that path so we can hope for that to happen. We'll see our earth just like a sacred garden, filled with renewed life, with love, with hope and faith. So that's it for today. I'm ending here, and thank you everybody at home. Thank you all for being here, and this is where I end my talk today.